So, my name is Sophia. Today I'll be talking to you about predicting future cryptojacking through data fusion. Out of curiosity, has anyone actually heard the term data fusion before? Okay, cool. So, that's fine, no one can correct me. That's cool. Well, basically, this whole talk is based, I did a cyber situational awareness unit at university, and it was using data science principles, applying them to data sets to get a greater understanding of a problem realm in cybersecurity. There were a lot of buzzwords in that. It's quite fun also. So yeah, who am I? I'm a final year cybersecurity management student at Bournemouth University, president of the Bournemouth University Computing and Security Society. I was team captain for Team UK at ECC last year. Don't know if any of you watched Hunted, somehow managed to bag that gig. What a bunch of stuff for some weird reason. Official member of Securi-Tay, we're basically the next beer farmers. Just saying. Andy approved us, so. But yeah, hopefully it is me, Sarah, and Morgan will be getting up on the conference circuit doing cool security stuff. So, first of all, what is cryptojacking? Does anyone know what cryptojacking is? Quick raise of hands. About half of you, cool. So cryptojacking attacks are basically when a malicious entity or someone that's not so good unknowingly installs a program to help mine cryptocurrency for them. So in short, the unauthorized use of device to mine cryptocurrency. So this can be done by either installing malware, phishing or whatever, or there's an in-browser technique, so someone will browse to a website, they'll open up that web page, and there'll be scripts inside that page mining cryptocurrency for you. So mining cryptocurrency needs a stupid amount of computational power. Basically, I got to get this definition right. So in order to mine cryptocurrency, a device has to solve a series of mathematical problems using cryptographic hash functions associated with blocks on the blockchain. I could not remember that for the life of me. I had to write that down, and I didn't want to upset Morgan by getting the definition wrong. So, basically, the more power you have, the more money you get because you're able to mine that cryptocurrency. This is a wonderful diagram that I was forced to make by my lecturer, but it actually explains the problem realm quite well. So you've got your individual users, they either become victim of malware or browse an infected page. Their compromised device mines cryptocurrency for the attacker, so that can be from malware gangs, which is individual cyber criminals, organised crime units. They get a financial gain out of it. Usually a lot of people don't know they're a victim of cryptojacking. The only thing that really points it out is the devices become quite slow, the electricity bills go up. There was a massive thing at our uni about 3 years ago where people were using university infrastructure to mine cryptocurrency and getting billed horrendously. So we actually had to do something about that. And another thing about cryptojacking is cryptocurrency is very dependent on a supply and demand kind of thing. So by having a surge of cryptocurrency being mined, it might actually affect the cryptocurrency market in the long term as well. So basically, start off before I did any of the data science called data fusion stuff. I investigated related trends. I wanted to understand the problem realm a little bit better. I didn't want to know just about cryptojacking. I wanted to know everything to do with cryptojacking. So actually, in recent sort of news, the value of cryptocurrency has gone exponentially upwards for various reasons. One of which is the media and news. So anytime there's something like WannaCry, they'd always do a side section on what is cryptocurrency, what is Bitcoin, and everyone go, okay, that's a really cool thing. I'm going to buy some of that, because why not? And that's why cryptojacking also runs in parallel with ransomware trends as well. I already mentioned this in the last slide, but potentially might fluctuate cryptocurrency stocks. And basically, the gist of it is that cryptojacking isn't an isolated entity. There's always other things related to that. So cryptocurrency, ransomware, Bitcoin was a big thing. I don't know why people just search Bitcoin and not cryptocurrency. Oh, I blame the news for that because that's the only cryptocurrency they really highlight, ever. But yeah. So once I got to understand the problem realm, I had to understand what data fusion is. This is actually a really good definition that I pulled from one of my lecture slides. It's the process of integrating multiple data sources to produce more consistent, accurate, and useful information than provided by any individual data source. So what you're doing is you're getting loads of different data sources, whether that be spreadsheets, graphs, whatever. You're bringing it in as a whole, and you're analysing this data as a collective set rather than individual data sets. And by doing this, you understand the trends a little better, you understand the data in more depth, and it gives you more useful information than if you were just to analyse one Excel spreadsheet or one graph. So you're like comparing all the data sets in unison, so that kind of makes sense. I'm trying to cram like a whole term, so like lectures into a 20-minute presentation, so do feel free to ask me questions afterwards as well. IRL example, vehicle safety systems. I was really happy I got to like squeeze my car into this. If any of you follow me on Twitter, I'm like, I love this car more than myself. So really happy I actually managed to get into this. But basically, yeah, vehicle safety systems. Loads of things happen in like a connected car. Unfortunately, my car is not a connected car, but I'll use it as a diagram anyways. So you got front radars, which help with like collision detection, emergency braking, cruise control, that kind of thing. You've got back radars, which is like blind spot detection, collision detection again. You've got front cameras, which might display like warnings onto your infotainment system. You've got surround view as well, displayed again on the infotainment system. And basically, data fusion plays a really important role in vehicle safety systems. One sensor alone cannot kind of gauge the safety of the entire car, if that makes sense. So the front sensor will know what's in the front 180 of the car, but they won't know what's going on in the back. So by combining all these different sensors, it not only broadens the area, that it not only allows the car and the driver to have a better understanding of like its general safety, like posture, but if a sensor fails, you have like backups, if that makes sense. So everything's working together in unison, but even if you lose your front camera, you've still got your front radar sensors knowing how far in front the next car is, that kind of thing. Safety is really important. So, this is good that they're using data fusion. So, to apply data fusion, we got asked to apply something called the JDL model. The JDL model was created by the Joint Directors of Laboratories. In 1980s, they created a data fusion group purely dedicated to this whole process of bringing all the data together. And then they created this model to help simplify the process, because a lot of it's done through like machines and like electronics. It's not really done like through the human perception. So they created this model so people could understand the process a little bit better, but also they could apply it themselves rather than relying on machines to just do data fusion. For the purpose of this project and this presentation, otherwise I'd be literally stood here for hours, we are just going to look at the top 4 levels. These are the levels that I did actually use in my assignment as well, so I can talk about them. It gets quite complicated after level 3, so feel free to ask me about beyond level 3, but I'm not sure if I'd be able to answer questions exactly. So level 0, quite simple, which is getting the data, pre-processing the data, sourcing it, filtering it, just having a look at it. Level 1, object assessment. You're plotting the data, so if you've got a massive CSV file and want to create something visual to help understand that data, and also to detect any anomalies or outliers. Don't want that to affect your understanding of the data. Level 2, situation assessment. Identifying just general trends, potential causations. Why is there a massive spike here? Why is it plummeted that way? Why is data doing that? And this is a very investigative kind of thing. A lot of kind of what ifs, not like concrete stuff. And then level 3 is using the causations you identified in level 2 and creating a quantitative or qualitative model. There are loads of quantitative models for the JDL kind of model, but it gets very, very complicated, and it's algebra, and I got really confused, so I was like, I was going to do a quantitative model, seems a lot easier, and it's very kind of speculative, so you're using causations and you're using that knowledge to create a model to predict future trends of that particular data set. So, level 0, pre-processing. It's pretty simple. I was like, okay, so what data is there that I can actually use to understand cryptojacking more? There wasn't actually much of cryptojacking, but funny enough, there was absolutely shed times on cryptocurrency prices. I found this monster Kaggle data set. It must have been like thousands and thousands of lines. And it was basically like cryptocurrency prices for like the top 10 cryptocurrencies in the past 6 years. It was a lot of data, so it was a really long time to download. But I just chose 3, which I thought I've heard these 3 the most. Bitcoin, obviously. Ethereum and Ripple. So basically, I took all these data sets from Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. I cut out all the columns except for the open price. That's the only thing I was interested in. And I just sorted it chronologically, because for some reason it wasn't sorted chronologically. I was like, don't know why you've done this. And nothing was Google Trends. Has everyone heard of Google Trends? It's a really cool tool. Like, I definitely recommend looking at it. But basically, you go to Google Trends, you put in a search term, and Google Trends will generate a graph of how popular that search term has been in the past 5 years in America, or the past 3 years worldwide. So through my initial research related trends, I took some search terms, ransomware, cryptojacking, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and generated graphs from that. That was me sorting out all CSVs, by the way. Took ages. So level 1, this is literally just taking all the black and white Excel spreadsheets and plotting it onto graphs, and then generating the graphs from Google Trends. It's quite straightforward. So this was it for Ripple. So this went back to 2013. That's just the open price. I think it's US dollars. I can't quite remember. Fairly simple. Just using few columns. That's Ethereum. That was Bitcoin. That was absolutely loads of Bitcoin. Google Trends, you basically just put in a search term and it generates the graph automatically. So you've got one for cryptocurrency, got one for ransomware, and cryptojacking as well. So understanding the data, before we go to the investigative model, we were asked to kind of see if we could just see any basic trends. Basically, most of them have this weird spike in the middle. Something must have happened to cause this spike. And funnily enough, you look at the cryptocurrency as well, and you see the same spike at the same time. So you're like, okay, something definitely must have happened for it to be correlated across all these different trends, but still within the cryptojacking realm. So for cryptocurrency, it wasn't just one spike. What I noticed, it was two intensities. So you had a kind of gradual increase and then a massive increase. So perhaps two things happen. Who knows? But this kind of brings us on to the next level. The awareness part, I think it's what the users call being woke. I still don't actually know what being woke means, if someone could explain that to me. But we plotted the data, we've aggregated data, so we've got all these graphs, we've analysed them as a whole, and we've all figured out that across everything, 2017 was a significant time, something happened in 2017. Now what? We identify the potential causations of why there was a massive spike in this data. After some research and quite obvious kind of conclusions, two things happened in 2017. WannaCry happened, obviously. I'm assuming most of you guys know what WannaCry is. Yeah, cool. Don't need to go into too much detail. That happened in May 2017. Then the last quarter, there was this cryptocurrency boom where Bitcoin went through the roof. Everyone wanted Bitcoin, everyone was selling Bitcoin, it was all mental. So actually most cryptocurrencies rose above 1,200% of their original value, and Bitcoin reached its all new time high, which is quite cool. So knowing this data, we go back to this, and we're like, okay, something happened in May, something happened in the last quarter. Can we try to plot this, these causations onto the graphs? So up until May, nothing has happened in the cryptocurrency realm of Bitcoin. This is where WannaCry happens / cryptocurrency boom. And you can see there's a massive increase in the price in general. But you can see, in May, when cryptocurrency, trying not to step out of the box, in May, when we had the WannaCry attack, there was a gradual increase. And in the last quarter is when there's that massive spike. And you can kind of plot this on something like this as well. Apparently cryptojacking, which is unheard of until 2017, because there weren't any search results for that. Probably was a thing, but then you had WannaCry happen, you got some data starting to be generated. And generally it goes up. Something weird happened here. But to cause it to go down and then spike back up. Unfortunately, I ran out of time to investigate that. But potentially future work, who knows? And this kind of brings us on to level 3. So we've identified why this data has gone this way. We've identified that all these different data sets within the umbrella of cryptojacking are all reacting the same way. So let's just clarify it a little bit. We had the WannaCry ransomware attack. We had the cryptocurrency boom. And the effects are, there was a rise in cryptocurrency price. There was an increase worldwide web searches of cryptojacking and cryptocurrency terms. And actually, through some research, there was a rise of cryptojacking attacks. Everything's kind of coming together now. So in 2018, there was actually a 300% increase in ransomware, but there was a 450% increase in cryptojacking. So everything's running in alignment. And I got really happy at this point in the assignment because I was like, everything's coming together. I'm not just looking at graphs for no reason. So that's really cool. And this brings us into the qualitative model. So this is just speculation. Speculation isn't always bad. So we can actually use our knowledge of, we've identified ransomware attacks cause a spike in cryptojacking, cryptocurrency, all these kind of things. Cryptocurrency price increase for some reason when cryptocurrency went up, so cryptojacking, that kind of thing. And we can kind of speculate that if these trends repeat in the future, if we have another big ransomware attack, if we have another big cryptocurrency boom, potentially there might be a rise in cryptojacking attacks. And this was kind of evidenced by the statistics in 2018 that everything went up, but so did cryptojacking. So it's quite interesting to kind of think about this. So obviously there's a lot of future work that can go into this. It does extend beyond level 3. It gets a lot more complicated. You can start applying algorithms, and I'm not a data scientist. I'm a cybersecurity management student. I didn't really want to go beyond level 3 because I'd probably still be working on it now. But given a bigger time frame, this could definitely have been done. And the higher you go up that data fusion process, the more you're kind of aggregating data and treating it as a whole, and actually having a deeper understanding. And basically the whole point of this unit is to have a bigger situational awareness about a problem realm. And loads of people did it for all sorts of things. My friend did it on phishing attacks. Again, this whole just gathering loads of data sets, plotting it, identifying causations. Someone did it on romance fraud. Loads of people did it on loads of different things, and we all came to the same conclusion that if you identify certain events, actually, weirdly, I don't know how this works in the world, if you can sort of speculate that in the future these events reoccur, so might these trends. The limitations I've faced with this model, cryptocurrency prices are really volatile. You could start the day and Bitcoin might be through the roof, and then you get to lunch, it might be through the floor. So it might be hard to predict future cryptojacking completely reliant on price trends. You can use it as a guidance, but to use it as a sole kind of purpose maybe isn't a wise idea. Another thing was people are starting to wake up to the fact that cryptojacking is a thing. Does anyone know what CoinHive is? Yeah, some people, cool. It was like an add-on for an in-browser cryptocurrency, cryptojacking thing. And that got removed off the market because they realised that people are using the sort of bad side of things, not the good side of things. So it's unpredictable when these parties might act and actually wake up to the fact that this is actually happening. I still feel like it's quite under the radar. Not many people know it's a thing, but it's definitely becoming more of a thing. So, yeah. In summary, I appreciate I babbled quite a little bit. And I tried to cram a 4,000-word essay and a whole term's of work into a 20-minute presentation. So I do apologise if things aren't clear, but feel free to ask some questions after. Multiple data sources we use to create a more accurate understanding of trends. By having a more holistic understanding, using multiple trends, multiple data sets, we can actually use it to support each other and get that better understanding. Identifying causations was the biggest thing and the most important thing to do. Without identifying these causations, you can really speculate about the future, per se. Of course, you'll never be able to 100% predict the future. I wish that was a thing. But by using data fusion, by using the JDL model and doing this whole CSVs, graphs, and analysing it as a whole, it allows you to have a deeper understanding, and you might actually find yourself one step ahead. That who knows, another ransomware attack might happen. Let's hope not. Touch wood. But you might find yourself, okay, a ransomware attack has happened. Maybe cryptojacking will be on the rise. We need to start looking out for this. So it's a nice little way to kind of predict the future. Obviously, I can't tell you to the figure how many cryptojacking attacks will happen tomorrow. But I can tell you that, okay, we've had a ransomware attack last week. Maybe cryptojacking attacks will be on the rise. Or, I don't know, Bitcoin's gone to an all-new high. More people want to cryptojack because they want Bitcoin, that kind of thing. But you might find yourself one step ahead. And that is me. About 20 minutes. So, thank you. I'm happy to accept any questions. If I don't answer your questions, feel free to find me later. That's my Twitter, that's the Securi's Twitter, please follow us. But does anyone have any questions on stuff? Yes.
So you're looking at Google Trends for the cryptojacking.
Yeah.
You marry that up with actual data for cryptojacking attacks.
Yeah. So Unfortunately, there wasn't much data, like solid data about cryptojacking attacks, more like statistics. So that's why I went into some of the statistics. It would be great if we had like actual CSVs of like X amount happened. But I guess the point of this whole project was to use like an array of things. So using the cryptojacking Google Trends, but also using like ransomware search trend, cryptocurrency prices, and then in like alignment together, you can see a generic trend happening.
If you go on like the Centre for Internet Security,
yes,
every month they do reports.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And those reports will tell you the top 10 malware.
Oh, perfect, yeah.
So
that's definitely
like
something to look into. Yeah.
So you probably update that data.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool, yeah. I didn't actually know about that. That would have been awesome to know about assignment.
Yeah, so Centre for Internet Security.
Cool, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely, thank you. Yeah.
So first off, really cool ass-kicking research. Appreciate it. The question going through my mind is, now that we have the classifiers of a specific thing, the price being linked to attacks,
yes,
do we have the other piece of information saying these are the attackers? Can we narrow that down to a specific interest group, or say, for instance, when so-and-so many miners or cryptocurrency accounts are in the country, can we tie that data to see if a country impacts the attacks themselves? Because the thing going through my mind is, if we know these attacks push the price up,
definitely,
and we know that nation states use Bitcoin and other types of cryptocurrency to finance black ops, how far are we to actually predicting who's doing this?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going down a rabbit hole of some sorts, but there's probably plenty of data sets out there. I mean, the Cyber Security Centre, that was something I didn't know about. So looking into data sets like that, but also I think it's purely future work for like more research into this. The JDL model is used for all sorts of things, like, as I mentioned, like across phishing, all kinds of crimes. And the more sort of effort, the more work you put into this model, the more you're going to get out of it. Unfortunately, I was quite limited for time, but you bring up some like excellent points about actually we can refine this model even more to start looking into where these attacks come from, trying to get those data sets specific to like nation state actors and stuff.
Right, so when you're predicting things, for instance, you're using Bayes or a neural network to identify classifiers.
Yes,
absolutely. Then we can also use similar data to identify or use these classifiers to the attackers. If we can link the two together, then we can not only see the trend of, okay, well, this attack is pushing the price up, but who's profiting from this price going up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely going, hopefully, in the future, who knows, we start to collect data like that, like, okay, someone's got a crypto miner on this X website, where's it coming from? And the more data we get, the more we can actually apply this model to. And you're absolutely right, we can start linking all these things together. So,
really good, thank you.
No, absolutely, that's fine. But I highly recommend, if you do have spare time, there is a really good paper just on the JDL model and how it's like was created, how it was used, and it is used in a lot of things. Like, so it's quite good if you do have the time to read that. Any other questions? Yes.
It's by the way your research, but like, how are these targets identified? Because most people don't know Bitcoin. So,
no, absolutely. Yeah, so well, to be fair, it could be as I mentioned, like cyber criminals, anyone that's kind of trades in Bitcoin, they might be more likely to use something like cryptojacking. But there wasn't actually any, unfortunately, around that time to go into research on, as I was saying, who was actually doing these attacks. But anyone that had like a financial motivation to gain cryptocurrency basically could be like, liability to do these kind of attacks. But that's definitely something for further case of research. There is. Yes.
My question is about identifying the correlations. You say correlation with equal correlation, and it might be just coincidence. So what do you think is the best way to defend against picking the wrong correlation? Lots and lots of data sources, just trying to find a trend across multiple research.
No, exactly that. Like, I'm just getting more data sources to try back up each other. So I think the whole point of data fusion is the more data sources you amalgamate, the more they kind of evidence a particular trend. So there is probably more data sets out there. I was quite limited at the time of uni assignments, but you're absolutely right that if we can get more data sets, they kind of bounce off each other in a way. I mean, you just saw across 2 different data sets, but imagine if that's happened across like 20 different data sets, then you can start thinking, okay, maybe this isn't a fluke, maybe this isn't a false positive, this is an actual thing. So it's definitely a case for more research. Yeah, it's quite a big topic. Don't get me wrong, this is going off on a complete tangent, but a lot of people like apply this to all sorts of different like problem realms. The more work you put into it, the more data sets you collect, the more effective this model will be. So I think we're just about done. So